So I want to start by saying that rail is a relatively emerging industry across the region. So when you compare with other parts of the world, for instance, in Europe, rail really started with the first industrial revolution. So we're talking centuries ago. In the region, obviously, already have some rail tracks and very successful rail tracks in the west of Saudi Arabia. We have now very successful rail tracks in UAE. We have as well some others in other parts of the region. But net is still very much of an emerging industry. A lot still needs to happen in terms of the deployment of the rail tracks and the operation of those rail tracks to maximize the connectivity, both for passengers and for the freight. So in my opinion, working in rail in the GCC is a very unique opportunity because, again, this is a very emerging industry across the region. So we have the opportunity to design almost from scratch what we believe that the rail network should be, what's the type of operation that makes sense, and how to make sure that the intermodality connectivity between rail and ports and road and airports makes sense. When vis-a-vis when you go to other parts of the world where all of that infrastructure was already legacy deployed, sometimes you have less room to change vis-a-vis what you can do when you start thinking from scratch, right? Even in terms of user experience, how to bring the best of user experience to the passengers, how to adopt new technologies, how to adopt digital and AI. All of that type of thinking is obviously being explored in many different parts of the world, but they always have a lot of, let's say, considerations and sometimes constraints on legacy infrastructure, legacy systems that they need to take into consideration. While in the case of GCC, again, you can start pretty much from scratch and to really deploy what we believe is the best-in-class technology and solution from the get-go. So there are different, let's say, technologies within the rail industry. So we can talk about AI and digital, one of the blocks. We can talk about autonomous, the second block. We can talk about safety, environment, third block, and we can talk even about, I would say, the experience and the integration across different transportation modes. If we start by the AI and the digital, there is a lot of innovation happening in that front that can help us, for instance, to deploy AI in terms of predictive analytics for maintenance of the rail tracks and of the railing stock. We can predict, for instance, the vibration of the trains and use that information to maximize, the different data and how to use that to avoid certain faults to happen and to bring down the cost of the reparation. We can use digital twins to predict all of the different flows of passengers and goods and what are the different impacts of that across different subsystems and where we expect certain bottlenecks to happen and what you need to do to de-bottleneck that, just as an example, right? We are using as well AI to have much better and accuracy on the forecast of the demand. That's another example. If we go to the second building block in terms of autonomous, there's a lot of autonomous coming to the rail industry with more and more driverless trains, driverless trams, driverless mobility solutions that connect, right? And all of that will help to bring down the cost of operation. But more and more autonomous and robotics is coming as well in terms of the logistics and how to handle some of the logistics and the freight that directly or indirectly impact as well the rail industry. So lots of solutions are being deployed as we speak. And then obviously we have a lot of progress on the technological of the OEMs, on both the rolling stock as well as on the infrastructure. New technologies that are emerging, other technologies are being fine-tuned and further developed. From a user experience, more and more the passengers expect a seamless mobility across all different transportation modes, smart ticketing solutions. So technology is coming as well, and a lot of that technology is already emerging and being deployed in the region as we speak. To ensure commercial sustainability on the long term, it's always important to ensure that we have the right cost of operating, and therefore important to ensure that we have the right infrastructure from a design perspective, that we have the right rolling stock, and that we have the right operation of that rolling stock and the integration with the different transportation modes in a way that helps to minimize the commuting time for passengers or the lead times on the transportation of goods, but as well as to bring down as much as possible the cost of adoption, because that will help to maximize the chances of people to switch from using, for instance, the car to use the rail as a passengers, or instead of using the truck to start using the rail for the freight. And therefore that's very important to ensure the long-term financial sustainability and viability of some of these programs.